Welcome back. Beyond the Pulpit Season 4. It's great to be sitting down with you and talking about this season.
Yeah.
We're talking about exponential faith and exponential impact. And today we're going to be talking about peace and how to guard our peace, guard your hearts and your minds. So super excited about this
Yeah.
conversation.
I think it's always fun when you and I just get to sit and talk a little bit. You know, it's great when we have guests like Krista or so and others, and was a great conversation and really impactful. Probably one of the most impactful we've had with a guest on Beyond the Pulpit over the last 4 seasons or 3 seasons. We're in the 4th season, but I think it's always good when you and I get to talk a little bit, especially in this season where you and I are hardly ever in the same building on a Sunday. You know,
Yeah.
you're really focused, you're going to one location, I'm at another location, or so forth and so on. So yeah, we're going to talk about peace, especially as school starts back up, right? School has started, but it's the beginning of the year and all of that, and things that are going on in the world. There's a lot going on in the world, and I know we say that all the time, but we are so inundated with information.
Yeah. So much content out there.
Yeah, it's so exhausting how much you can know. I forget what it was, but it's like back in the 50 years ago, the only news people would get was from the newspaper.
Yeah.
And, in a New York Times newspaper, the amount of information they would get is like what we can get within seconds.
And all day long.
And all
doesn't stop.
day long. The alerts, and then what our kids have to deal with, and hearing all that stuff. And I don't mean just our kids, I mean kids in
This
general.
generation. Yeah.
And so, talking about peace it's a
In a
hard thing.
practical way too, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about disciplines and the spiritual disciplines that we have to put into, because peace can't just be like, oh, I'm going on vacation 6 months from now. You have to figure out how to maintain peace every day of your life, right? And so putting in those healthy practices, spiritual disciplines, rhythms, every day of your life.
And I think we probably get some hate mail about this, but I think we put way too much emphasis on vacation. I think our expectations are too high. We expect all these things 1 week, maybe 2. Let's just say people are really good at that. 4 weeks a year out of 52 weeks. That's what, 47, 48 other, 48 weeks that what do you do all those other weeks? And I think also in the church world, the Christian world, I think we tend to over spiritualize so much that we've over spiritualized peace. Like we just finished a series over the summer. We did a series in the summer about wisdom and the Proverbs. And I remember having a conversation with the location pastors and talking about people don't even know what wisdom is. They think it's just smarts. They think it's just knowledge. But actually the book of Proverbs was written to not give us knowledge. That wasn't the wisdom that Solomon asked for. It was the skillful ability, the skillfulness to be able to navigate the things of life aligned with God's heart. That's really wisdom.
Which is in his word.
And so the peace that we're talking about today, and we should talk about more often in the context of church, or the context of, let's not say the context of church, in the context of Christian community, is less about this peace and this peace, but more of
the first one was kind of scary. It really wasn't peaceful.
I don't know.
I don't know where that was coming from.
Like the ooey gooey kind of peace stuff. Like, I don't know.
Okay.
But is how do we maintain peace?
Yeah.
In the middle of chaos. And there's so much out there right now, right? And I'm rambling, and there's so much out there about John Mark Comer and the practicing the way, and we're engaging in that. We're leaning into that as a church. But some of that can be overwhelming.
Sure.
It's like, how do I live like that? I don't know what conversation we had. Were we on that podcast last season or season before with someone, and we were talking about how it was about prayer. So I think it was Pastor Aaron. And we were like, well, if you're traveling to New York on a bus, 6 hours a day, 3 hours there, 3 hours back, then you work a 10-hour day. How do you actually live a prayerful life? I think it's the same thing, right?
Sure.
How do you live in peace when all that ooey gooey stuff? How does that happen when you've got 18 kids running around the house with boogers coming out of their nose and poop coming out of their butts?
Why don't you share then practically what does that look like for you in your daily rhythm, because you have a lot of pressure. You live under a lot of pressure. You have a lot of responsibilities. You wear a lot of hats, right? So I think if you can break down practically, how do you maintain peace in
Or
your
don't.
heart and in your soul,
Yeah.
on a daily basis? Because
Yeah.
you can't wait for a vacation.
Yeah.
You won't make it.
Well, we both live. I mean, we do this together.
Sure.
I do carry a different type of burden the way we lead. When we talked about doing this topic, one of my fears. No, I shouldn't use the word fears. Pastor Trotty doesn't like when I say fears. Is one of my concerns is that we sit on these podcasts or this podcast and we somehow get the perception that we're the expert at these things.
Absolutely
And we're
not.
absolutely not the experts at it. We're not experts at parenting. We're just people that got called into a role to help people navigate their faith.
Yeah, and there's different seasons that we're good at some things, and then there's different seasons where we fail, and somebody has to, check us or say, hey, you're burning the candle at both ends. I think that's the saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
we just had the conversation come in here, right? We weren't in the same car, but you said something, we're overscheduled. And so we have to talk with our team and go, hey, listen, someone's got to look at our calendar and make sure that we actually build time into driving from where we have to go to get here or to go wherever we're going. And then there's time to breathe in between, get a cup of coffee, drink a glass of water, eat a sandwich. And so you were running from one place to the next. I was running from one place, to the next. And we were like, there was it felt like no peace. And so I'm saying all that to say, is you asked me the question, how do I find peace? I'm still a work in progress in that. Because you just don't, it's not just your circumstances, right? It's it's also who God has created you to be. It's your personality. Mm-hmm. Sometimes based on personality, it's harder to find your shalom, your center, your calmness, right? Because if your mind is always going, that's me. My mind is always going. This is how crazy I am. I literally can be preaching, engaged in my preaching, and be thinking about a completely different thing at the exact same time. And sometimes I wonder to myself, did what I think come out of my mouth and I didn't even realize that I was doing it? So I could literally be because if I get right before I get up to preach, if somebody comes up to me with an issue, that's what I mean. If there's a problem or dealing with a crisis, whatever, I could be, or I'm watching around and I'm seeing people look at me and things go through my mind, like, is my father who's elderly, is he okay? Are they going to come? So these kind of things. And so how do you slow down those things and find that peace? I think that's really hard. However,
but what have you learned to do? Because you've had to. Yeah. Because we are very different. We have different personalities. We have different views of rest. We have different. Views of those kind of things. And so
sometimes your view of rest irritates me.
I know. I like to be around people. That fills me up.
For 2 weeks, I'm like, have you checked your email today? I'll check it when I have time. You didn't check your email yet?
I check it once a day, but I'm not obsessing over it.
You mean when we're away?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, check it more, I hope. When we're actually here.
Okay,
but
stay focused.
No, but that is the point. The point is, what have I done? I think number one, it is from a practical standpoint for me, because of my personality, because of the way my brain goes, because I'm a D on the disc and an I. And so I'm a driver and I want to move the bus forward. I want to move us forward. I'm also an I, which means I think creatively. I can think scatterbrained. I can think all those things. I've had to learn this is really important. I've had to learn certain triggers which make me feel like I'm out of peace. So I'm in chaos. Mm-hmm. And you and I have talked about this. I've said to you, I feel like I'm there. And it happens like 3 to 4 times a year where the only way I can describe it, because I think in pictures, is that when you have a glass of water, and that glass of water, you pour water or soda or whatever, and it kind of bubbles at the top, like it domes at the top. But if you put one
More drop in.
one more drop in or a little bit in, it overflows. I have learned to know that I'm domed.
Yeah.
I'm at that point where it's not going to go well. Yesterday's a great example. Yesterday, today we're filming. It's a Tuesday. I think it's a Tuesday, and we're Mondays are our Sabbath day, which is supposed to be a time of rest. And in our role, sometimes it's not as easy to completely
But it's
do
still
that.
necessary.
Still necessary. We're going to get there. Still necessary. But there was a point where I said I wanted to go for a walk.
Yeah.
And you were like, this is going to sound horrible. Like I'm a horrible father here. You're like, well, you're going to do senior pictures, I think it was, with
doctor's appointments.
A doctor's appointment, then senior pictures with Annabelle. And you're like, Stella didn't want, our youngest didn't want to go with you. And so you're like, take her for the walk with you. And I know what that's like. She's going to complain that we're walking too fast, or you're going to complain it's too hot. And it was hot because it was like 2:00 in the afternoon. She wants to hold the dog, and then the dog gets distracted, and then she's in all these kind of, I'm sweating, and then she wants to talk about.
So you were trying to protect your peace.
No, but then I said, let me finish, and then I said to you, you're like, just take her, and I said, I need to go by myself. And she heard that, and which was, then I felt guilty, and she thinks I don't want to spend time with her, but I needed that time.
Sure.
And in that time, God dropped some things in my heart, some things that, because I was able to just slow down and go for a walk. But some of the things that was important, knowing when I'm at my trigger,
your limits.
My limits. Yeah. That's a better word. Thank you. Also, how I start my day. Oof. When I can't start my day the right way, it jacks me up. And with 3 daughters that talk loud and don't stop talking, and especially during the summertime when they're home, it's really hard sometimes, but it's important for me to pray. It's important for me to walk or do exercise. And so the winter is hard for me. And so, we have to make some decisions this winter about purchasing some stuff so that I can get my body moving in the morning in a better way. And then, listening or reading the Bible. I listened a lot because of my processing issues. Sometimes it's hard for me to read long periods of time without going into no man's land. And so listening. And so those three things are really, really important for me. And they're not really that sexy. They're not that crazy spiritual. But that's become really important. But I think we shared this on another podcast. Like I had to learn that after having virtually a nervous breakdown in 2018.
Right.
But so that's for me. But you're a completely different personality. For those that love personality stuff, we do this with our staff, right? Is I said already, I'm a D in the DISC profile. So it's DISC. I'm a D, a driver, and I very creative and thinking and all this other kind of stuff. There's probably better ways. Intuitive. I think that's what the I stands for. But I'm going to now ask you the question because some of the audience can relate to me.
Sure.
Probably a little less because I'm pretty cuckoo, but relate to you.
I'm an S.
You're an S.
So I like peace and harmony, which is interesting that we're talking about protecting our peace. So, I like things. I'm consistent. I'm steady. That's kind of my personality. I feel, so it has to feel good. Or I want people to feel good. I want people to be teamwork, all of that stuff. That's my personality. So I value the opinion of others. Not that it, I still have my own opinion, but I do invite others' opinions in at the table, all that kind of stuff. So that's the S for me. So
did you say you're slow to change?
No, I didn't say that. So yeah, you're the driver and you're dragging me along some of the times because you want to change things so fast. And I'm like, whoa, give me time to
it's not that I want to change things so fast. I mean, this is not really part of our
You
topic.
want to move things ahead.
I want to move. I like
movement.
Move forward.
Forward momentum.
Forward momentum. Yeah.
But I also need time to I like to move things forward too, but I don't, sometimes it feels very fast because I need time to process it. I need time to, I just need time. Give me time.
Can I tell? Sorry, I don't think I've shared this on the podcast. This story, but I may have, and it's worth sharing again. But I definitely have shared it in sermon or 2 or 10. When we were getting married and the candle story.
Yeah.
But this is a great example of just the difference between us, because I think it's important for people. Because here's what's so frustrating to me is when these smart people come up with these plans, call it, I'm not going to name names, but they say, here's how you find peace, and here's how you do Sabbath, and here's how you do these things. Ultimately, all rooted in what Jesus said. But what was great about Jesus is he customized to who people were, right? He treated Zacchaeus differently up in that tree than he treated the woman caught in the act of adultery, to the woman at the well, and the list, and the guy possessed by the devil, and the demon, and the pigs, and all that stuff. He treated him differently. So it's important for our personalities, for people to understand our personalities,
Sure.
and how we then find peace, right?
Yeah.
So we were engaged, and your mom said, "Oh, you need to come you need to come grab some stuff that you're going to take from the basement."
Right.
And their basement was humongous, and so we went down there, and you're like, "I'm taking this, and I'm taking this, and I'm taking this, and I'm taking this, and I'm taking this," and then one of the things was this burnt candle. It was like this big, burnt candle. I don't know if Yankee Candle, something.
I'm sure it wasn't Yankee.
Yankee. We're not
sure
that
it was
bougie.
some,
Something you got from
off-brand
Marshalls or
on clearance.
TJ Maxx or something. And so, and I said, what? And this was before we were married. So, I had to be real careful. Now, 18 years later,
You're unfiltered.
I'm unfiltered.
Mm-hmm.
You love that. But anyway, so I said to you real nice, I said, what are we doing with that? And you said, we're taking it. I said, it's a half burnt candle.
Still good.
And
Still have half of it left.
Still have half of it left. And then I said, when was the last time you burnt this candle? And you said, freshman year of college. This was what?
I don't know.
4 or 5 years later from freshman year in college. At least
like
6 years later. And I said, why are we bringing this? And literally, I remember this. It was like I blew up, like I just took your puppy.
No, it wasn't.
And I dropped it off at the kennel.
Your memory is very different.
My memory is
I recall.
more accurate and much more funny. And so,
we'll let you have that.
It was like crazy. And you had to, this was my point of this. You had to process it. Even something so small. Mm-hmm. For me, it's like garbage.
Yeah.
You've what?
I've come a long way.
And garbage. and I would be like, just garbage. And you had to process, like, it was like there was a grief for this candle. And, but that's important because that's who you are. That's who God has created you to be.
Sure.
And so keep going.
Yeah. So I know that I need rest. I need sleep, physically need sleep. I need a certain amount of hours.
I don't know how much more sleep you can get because you're a pretty good sleeper. Sometimes I'm like, how much more can you sleep?
Okay. If I don't have a proper amount of sleep, then everything else seems so much more
laborious,
emotional. My emotions are out of whack. So that's important. Exercise, moving my body. Do I do it all the time? No. Do I need to be better disciplined at it?
Yes.
Absolutely. But that definitely helps.
So that we're alive
peace.
for a long, long time.
Yeah. Spending time in the Word, definitely. Sometimes in this season that I've found myself is because there is so much pulling on, so many people pulling on, so many messages, so many, children, responsibility, just people to care for. I've found myself that I need more time, just alone time, which it's different than my personality because usually
you're an extrovert.
Yeah. And I get recharged by people, but because of just the role and the season we're in, I was struggling. I don't even know how long ago, a couple months ago, I was really struggling. And so I just shut everything down. I sat in Hobby Lobby's parking lot with a cup of coffee and just read my Bible for an hour.
Well, let's tell that story a little bit. Mm-hmm. I think that was right before vacation or whatever.
It was a couple weeks before.
Yeah. I had never seen you at that point of almost breakdown.
Yeah.
And I said to you, you need to take the afternoon off. I don't even remember the circumstances, but if you want to share them, I don't remember them all.
There was just a lot of pressure within, at the church, and things were happening, and coming out of a very, very busy season, and just pressure, external pressure. And then I put internal pressure on myself to, perform or to make sure that things are going smooth and whatnot. And so there was just a point where, when I'm not spending enough time in the Word, when I'm not spending enough time in God's presence, then I can't just get crumbs, right? I can't live off of yesterday's crumbs. I need to be in the Word every day. That's why the Bible talks about your daily bread. So I need to get my daily bread. And so there were just crumbs happening, and all the external pressures and all of the pressures from the house, and, being home in the summer, and there's a lot. So I just needed a reset. I needed, just time alone, shut my phone off it was only an hour and a half, but it was really beneficial.
It was super beneficial for
I
you.
literally didn't tell anybody where I was. I didn't tell anybody what I was doing. I just grabbed coffee and a scone, and it was a delicious scone, by the way. And
I don't even know who eats scones.
I do, and I loved every
Isn't that
crumb
thing
of
like-
it.
What's that other thing that's like a scone? A biscotti or something?
Biscotti, those are delicious too.
It breaks your teeth.
No, dunk it in coffee. That's why, and then it gets
Coffee sounds good
soft.
right now.
But anyways,
It'd be great if they,
So that's
going
how-
forward for these podcasts, they would have a nice cup of coffee for us. Wouldn't that be nice?
that's how I protected my peace, and I
Yeah.
got my heart and my mind back in the right. I needed that time in the presence. I needed that time in my in the Word, and I needed to do something that would, fill me up. Cup of coffee and a scone, man, you can go for miles. And sitting in the Hobby Lobby parking lot and just seeing. I love Hobby Lobby, so just being in that environment was just beneficial.
You know what was interesting when you were talking is that you said the breadcrumbs or whatever, the crumbs from yesterday is there has to be what I've learned is it doesn't have to be super spiritual, but it has to be consistent.
Yeah.
Right. And I think we make things so super spiritual, it becomes unattainable or inaccessible. Maybe that's not the right word, but it feels so big that it's so far away that then we give up on it.
Sure. It's
right?
unattainable.
It's like exercise.
Yeah.
Like we're like, we can't do 30 minutes. And so then we do nothing.
Sure. I do that all the time.
And I challenge the church, which who knows, like, how do you measure this stuff? Sometimes as a pastor, but anyway, I challenged the church before when the summer kicked off. I think it was on Father's Day weekend. I challenged the church to do the 5, 5, and 5, the 3 5s, which was 5 minutes of prayer, 5 minutes of reading, 5 minutes of meditation. Meditation sounds so woo, just journaling or thinking about the prayer and what you read.
Yeah.
And there were many people who came up to me and like, it's okay that I only do 5 minutes. Yeah. Because what's the alternative? 0.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that what's important is that we do something.
Sure.
Right. And I want us before we end and finish the podcast is we need to talk about like, how do we do that with families and all that kind of stuff. But I think that's really important. I think that's the lesson both of us have learned. I don't want to speak for you is we actually have to do something and it can look differently.
Right.
Like we're both doing the Bible recap, which by the way is
Really
incredible,
good.
really
Yeah.
good. Except for if she's listening, I forget her name.
Tara
Lee
Cobble.
Cobble.
I think.
Tara Lee Cobble. If she's ever listens, I just tell you that after 365 days, probably halfway, we should change the jingle on the pot because the jingle is just like stuck in my head. But I do it in the audio.
Yeah.
You have the whole book and you write the whole thing and you're writing things. And I just don't think, it doesn't work for me like that.
Right.
And so it's just important that you do and you find something. It's
For
like
yourself.
Sabbath.
Yeah.
Sabbath, I remember years ago when people would bring up Sabbath, it felt so daunting. It felt so overwhelming. It felt so heavy. And then I realized just because Pastor Bob can do it that way doesn't mean that's the way my Sabbath has to look like.
Yeah.
But I have to have it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
like
God ordained it, so we need to do it. And it's, God tells us to do it. So it's not a negotiable. Like it's a non-negotiable. It's essential. And why did God? Because it's necessary for us to get rest, right? You work the 6 days. God created the world in 6 days and rested on the seventh. Same thing for us.
He worked for 6 days and rested 7. I mean, rested 1 day of the seventh.
Right.
Some people try to rest 6 and only work 1, and then they realize where they're all jacked up.
Yeah. But it is important. And rest is also what do you enjoy? Rest isn't just sleeping. It's not just like, I'm just going to sleep on the couch. But if you enjoy that, and do it, take your naps. But rest
John
for
Mark
somebody
talks about that in Practicing the Way.
I mean, rest for me can be baking at 9:00 at night because I love baking. I love.
Not for me, because then I got to clean up the mess you make.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's how it fills me up, right? And so that's part of rest. Or it could be, taking a drive just to look at the beautiful scenery, like stop and look at the flowers. There's a beautiful, there's so much beauty around, but we don't ever take time to slow down and just enjoy it.
Oh, one of the things, to your point, that I do is, especially in the summer and the spring, is I'll go out and I'll clean the pool and I'll clean up the flowers and water the flowers and do those kind of things. And that's work, I guess, when you look at it, but that actually does something for me. You know what it actually does for me? And guys, whoever's listening, this has been super enlightening for me. When you have a role that has a lot of pressure, and many times you can't control anything. Doing some things as part of your rhythm that you can control brings a lot of peace. And so I can control how much water I put in that flower. I can control how clean that pool is. I can control, the weeds. I can control that kind of stuff. And what it does is it balances when you're, I know that sounds cuckoo, but it works. It works.
But that's how you
for me.
keep peace in your mind.
Correct.
That's for you, right?
That's why it's really hard up here. We live in the Northeast, and so the winter months are really hard for me. And that's where I'm struggling. I think the other thing that's hard for us, and we just have a few minutes left, is, 3 kids. Now, granted,
people have more kids than us.
I know some of our staff has more kids than us, and we're like, whoa, but forget the number. Even though I do, we laugh all the time, and I'm not trying to offend anybody and get hate mail, but when someone has 1 kid and they're like, we can't handle it, it's 1 kid. We're like, guys, it's 1. Like, and of course the circumstances can be different based on if they're impacted by disability and all that other kind of stuff. But finding that rhythm as a family, and I think one of the things as I was preparing in my mind for this talk, for this podcast, was what do we do as a family? And one thing that we've done, and it sounds so silly, but I think it's been so good for our kids, is every Sunday night, almost every Sunday night, I don't want to be a liar, almost every Sunday night, we go and get ice cream at a local ice cream shop as a family. We try to be as a family. The other night, Annabelle wanted to go to something, and so we let her go. I think Charlotte went with her, and so it was just Stella. But the whole point is we've made it part of our rhythm that Sunday after we all serve really hard, because even though they're not the preachers, they're not the pastors, our kids serve hard by being our kids. Yeah. And so we've created this, and you know how I know it's working? Because when we don't say we're going to do it, they say, are we going for ice cream? Right? And that's created some sort of tradition. Rhythm. Even so, that's something that's on a weekly basis for us. And in the winter, it's not just a summer thing. We've stood out there in the freezing cold online, right, to get into the ice cream place. And so that's been incredibly, incredibly helpful. We've said this before. We are not, sometimes we look at some of the parents in our church and we're so proud of them, but sometimes we're just like, wow, we wish we could be like them. They make these beautiful French toast breakfasts with fresh cut strawberries and whipped cream. And then they have these beautiful Bibles, and they sit down with them before they go to school, and they go through their devotionals. And that's great. I love that. I pray that in Jesus' name over everybody. That's not us. But there are some rhythms that we have, right?
Pray for them as they're getting on the bus, or,
Correct.
before they drive off on their car, from
And that
And
creates
so it
peace
looks
for
different.
them. That's where
Sure.
I'm getting at that, right?
Yeah.
You go up every night and where you're not tucking them in. They're older now, but you have a rhythm
Mhm.
that creates peace for their sleep.
Right.
By praying with them.
And have declared those same scriptures over them every night of their life since they were
Correct.
little kids.
Correct. So, and
To
then,
help them have peace.
correct. And so I think those are the little things, right? Again, the fear always when we have these conversations is people look at us and I never want to be people to put an unrealistic expectation on who we are.
No, or I don't want to be an idol for anyone either.
No. Now, should there be honor? Yeah, I think that the modern church doesn't understand a healthy honor. They've created idolatry or they've created complete dishonor and disrespect for leaders and pastors. But I think what we can share is just real life, practical, skillful thing like wisdom. We can share real life wisdom on how we can live life skillfully, have the skills to live life aligned with God's heart.
Right. And his word and being obedient, right? Because you, the way that you obtain peace or the rhythms you put in place for your life, you don't have to do our rhythms, but they need to be in line with God's word. So you can't, let's not go outside the boundaries of that. And, it's not like, oh yeah, I'm going to go smoke a joint or whatever. That's how I find peace. Like, let's stay within the boundaries of God's word.
And in addition to that, that's good, healthy stuff. We're going to be focusing in the new year, 21 days of prayer and fasting. We're going to be focusing on and unpacking what it means to be holistic, holistically healthy. The church has not done a great job of doing that.
Yeah.
Because it's become, if you focus on all these other things, then it's humanistic and it's all no. God created us with a mind, a body, and a soul. And so if he created us with a mind, body, and a soul, then we should tend to it. We should care for it, right? Our bodies are a great example, the Garden of Eden is a great analogy or picture of us as people. And so God told humanity to what? To tend to the land, to care for it, to work it, to honor it, to protect it. And we could be extreme and go, that means trees. That's not extreme. What I'm saying is we could just look at it as take care of the trees, take care of the flowers. No. What God was saying is we need to take care of this. And so that includes the mind, the body, and the soul. I don't know where I went on that. The whole point is we have to do better at that kind of stuff.
Yeah, holistically teaching about that.
Yeah.
So, but again, the conversation was about what are the rhythms, what are the, the practical things
peace.
that we do to find peace. Yours looks different than mine. And so take one thing, and I encourage you, whoever's watching, listening, just take one thing and maybe implement it.
That's good.
Into your walk this week and see if that helps you just in your daily walk with Jesus and protecting your peace, in your headspace, in your heart, in your soul.
And then some practical things, like I'm sure if they'll put this stuff in the show notes, it'll be great if they did, some resources, right? Like Emotional Healthy Spirituality by Peter Scazzaro or Practicing the Way by John Mark Comer or some other ones we can put on there because we have them all available. But what I would encourage people to do is it can be overwhelming. You read this book and you want to do it all to the T.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it becomes
another
work.
burden.
It becomes another burden. But open the book, pray to God and go, show me what you want me to get out of this.
Yeah.
Right. We'll end with this. We'll go annually to the ARC conference. And sometimes it feels like you're drinking from a fire hydrant.
Right.
But one of the things that I've done is I've asked God the last couple of years of going, I've asked God, hey, give me 3 things that you want me to get out of this. I'm going to hear 8 million.
Yeah.
Give me 3. And some of the most impactful things that God has spoken to me personally, or we've implemented in our church has been from those 3 things.
Yeah.
Saturday morning prayer. By the way, that's another great rhythm, right? Show up, get a small group. All these things help to create peace, community, all those things are important, but don't get overwhelmed in the doing. We have to do things, but don't let it be so overwhelming that you miss the heart behind what it is. And I think to wrap it all up, I think the world has perverted the word peace, and they think that peace is the absence of things.
Chaos.
Or chaos. Peace is being able to stand in the middle of it all.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, so that was good.
It's good.
It's cool. So we're going to keep having these types of conversations on Beyond the Pulpit. It was good to be having this conversation with you.
Yeah.
I think we're going to talk all kinds of things like this in this season.
Sounds good. Thanks for having the convo with me.
Yeah.